Good afternoon, ladies, gentlemen, boys and girls. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My name is Begakar Ahmed, and welcome to today's video. Today, we're going to be going ahead and taking a look at what Dr. Phil has to say. Dr. Phil released a video about 10 days ago called Tragedy Continues, with a big Israeli flag in the background. I'm assuming he means the tragedy continues for Israel, but when we use our eyes, our ears, our brains, we watch news, we see our TikToks, we see our YouTube, we see the reality of what's happening. The tragedy seems to be continuing for the people of Lebanon, for the people of Palestine, for the people of Iran, for the whole entire Arab community in the Middle East. The tragedy seems to continue while Israel is completely fine. So it's very interesting that Dr. Phil here says the tragedy continues, and he's so prominent in supporting Israel as an American that for some reason, all the tragedies on Israel, the one who's an illegal occupying state, and no, not for the last year, for the last 50 years. Before October the 7th, they were illegal occupying land they weren't supposed to occupy. They have illegal walls built to keep people out of their country that they're not allowed to have built. They completely have funded and caused a genocide to happen over the last 1 year. An equal response to October the 7th is not killing 50,000 Palestinians and now bombing Lebanon from the inside out, killing over 5,000 Lebanese people in a week. Like, that's not the appropriate response to 1,000 dead. I know that America's response to 9/11, even though America did 9/11 on themselves, they trained Osama bin Laden, they trained those pilots, they're the ones who hit all of this stuff, they're the ones who created this unscientifically possible scenario where planes flew into buildings and blew everything up and everything fell and building 7 just collapsed by itself because it was bored. I know the United States government likes to do things like this as well, and then go into Iraq and go into Afghanistan and go into these countries and cause millions of human beings to perish, die over weapons of mass destruction a country doesn't have. The same thing Israel's doing right now. Iran, weapons of mass destruction. They're going to blow us up. They're going to kill us. They're the worst people. They want us dead. They want us dead, as they're committing the genocide. So it's very interesting that Dr. Phil here wants to go ahead and defend Israel, especially as an American. Dr. Phil, I respectfully, as another American citizen, I please beg you to stop supporting countries that are dragging us into war, okay? We're American, we're not Israeli. We are not the Israeli Zionist regime, unfortunately. If you want to support Israel, you can go there. They'll gladly draft you. They'll gladly send you out to die on the battlefield. But for me and my family and my community and my businesses, we don't want to be dragged into World War III. I'm not in the mood to eat a Russian bomb. I'm not in the mood to eat a Russian bomb in my living room. I don't have time for this, Dr. Phil. So please, if you can stop supporting a genocidal illegal occupation regime where their president is due for 25 to life in prison, I would really appreciate that, because my tax dollars and everything I work for isn't so Israel can go to war. It's not so Israel can defend itself. It's so Americans can defend themselves. It's so Americans can live. It's so the homeless people can get off the street. It's so my children can have an education. It's not so Israel can blow up my friends and family in Lebanon. It's not, unfortunately. So Dr. Phil, please understand this. It's America first, not Israel first. And when you go ahead and make a video like this, which we're going to go ahead and react to right here, you need to understand, if you are so in love with Israel and you're Israeli and you're a Zionist and you support them, you need to go there and give them your money. You need to go do your show in Israel so you build their economy and you help them. You need to go send your support to their president, not ours. You need to get out of our country, because us supporting Israel is only going to drag us into a further global conflict with Russia, China, North Korea, Iran. This is not good. What is happening right now is not good. Russia is taking Ukraine. China is taking Taiwan. North Korea has just bombed all of the streets into South Korea and is willing to take South Korea. This is going to escalate into a global conflict. There is a time window open for these countries to react, and they're going to take their opportunity now, including the United States States of America. And you need to understand, when crap hits the fan, you need to be secure in your own country. You need to stand with your own people, your own community, your own American citizens, not Israelis. So thank you for your support overseas. I don't know how much of a raise your boss, who owns the television program that airs you, or whoever owns YouTube who airs you, gave you to go ahead and make this message, but it's sick. It's gross. So let's go ahead and check this out.
It's 1 year since the horrific October 7th Hamas massacre in Israel, killing over 1,200 people, including Americans. And sure enough, pro-Palestinian Hamas supporters have already been on campuses and streets in America celebrating that day by calling for the destruction of Israel, the world's only Jewish state.
It's not the world's only Jewish state. America's a Jewish state. Europe's a Jewish state. It's completely controlled by Jewish people. Who owns our banks? Who owns our transportation systems? Who owns half of the government seats in the cabinet? They're Jewish. So, like, we don't care. No one's at the doors of the White House trying to knock the White House down to try and get Jewish people out. No one's trying to remove Jewish people from the banking system, like the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds who own the world banks. Like, no one's trying to stop them. No one cares. Keep doing your thing. Keep running the world. We have an issue when you're murdering children, when you're murdering women, when you're causing a genocide, when you're running an illegal occupation. That's when we have a problem. This has nothing to do with them having a Jewish state. Like, this idea of you guys don't get the country you live in, Palestinians deserve to die and need to move because the Jewish people don't have a Jewish state and they deserve one. It's not fair that they don't have a state, so the Palestinians have to move in with Jordanians and have to move in with Lebanese people and have to move in with Saudi Arabians. They're just second-class citizens because Jewish people need a state. That's the most crazy ideology I've ever heard in my life. That is the most racist and most Hitler Nazi-like ideology I've ever heard in my life.
But before they hide their faces...
And the fact that he calls them pro-Palestinian Hamas supporters, like, if you're pro-Palestine, you just support Hamas, is wild to me.
Chant their anti-Semitic slogans disguised as nursery rhymes.
Palestine will be free.
I have a few very simple questions. What would it take? How much is enough? Where is the threshold?
Is he joking? It will take 300 to 400,000 Palestinian lives to be lost. It will take the complete destruction and push out of Palestinians from Gaza and the complete occupation and colonization of Gaza from Israel for this to stop. The threshold will be met when Iran is no longer on the map, when Palestinians are no longer on the map, when Lebanon is completely broken down and destroyed. Then you have reached the threshold and you can slow down a little bit, because then Israel will own half the region and half the region will be dead and completely destroyed, and then they can use all of their money and government funding from the United States of America to rebuild civilizations and move Jewish people and then go, this is the only Jewish state in the world. It just keeps expanding to the size of the whole planet.
What would a group, a gang, a faction of people you don't really know much about other than they have massacred over 1,000 people and are unified in the mission to kill men, women, children, infants, and elderly simply because they are Jews?
Is that not what Israel's doing? Is the IDF not killing women, children, and not 1,000 of them on October the 7th were the most intelligent and well-prepared military on the planet, let a bunch of dirty Arabs fly in on little bicycles with parachutes on them and land and kill 1,200 people? You're joking. One of the most intense, one of the most trained, one of the most funded militaries, the greatest military on the planet, just let these guys fly in on bicycles? This is BS, buddy. They're literally bunker bustering the leaders of Hezbollah in the middle of Beirut 40 feet under the ground. You're telling me they let a bunch of random Arabs with AK-47s fly in on bikes? Shut up, Dr. Phil. You're being ridiculous right now. It's funny that you're so worried about the 1,000 people dead, but you can care less about the 100,000 Palestinians and Lebanese people who are dead under rubble, who haven't even been identified yet. You don't care. People are being burnt alive in front of our face on video. Women, children are being flung out of homes. It's disgusting. And you're literally sitting here asking, how much does it take? How much will it take? Ask Israel, how much will it take? Tell them to stop.
If you have chosen to sympathize with these killers for whatever reason, what would they have to do for you to finally say, well, I made the wrong choice?
First off, it has nothing to do with sympathizing with Hamas, but you sympathize with Israel. They've killed over 50,000 human beings, confirmed. And that's not even talking about all the people under the rubble. They're blowing up cell phones in the middle of major cities like Beirut, Lebanon. They're literally committing terrorist attacks on normal people. They killed a family of 22 in North Lebanon. Like, are you smoking crack, Dr. Phil? Because you're sitting here saying, what do you have to do to not side with these people? But you're sitting here siding with Israel, who have literally killed 50 to 100 times more civilians than Hamas ever could or will.
I'm on the wrong side. I got played. I got suckered into believing in every situation someone had to be the oppressed and someone had to be the oppressor.
That's exactly what's happening. Israel is an illegal occupation. They illegally occupy land. They illegally do not let water and food into a specific area. They illegally bomb it and kill the people inside of it. This is before October the 7th this was happening. I literally just posted a video the other day, say Friday, Wednesday, of Hugo Chavez, the previous Venezuelan president, specifically talking against Israel. This was in 2010, saying that Israel literally circled the pacifists who were trying to take water into Gaza because they didn't have water in Gaza, and they killed them and blew them up. And they blew up the water, and they didn't allow the water to go into Gaza. This is 2010. This is not genocidal actions. This is not illegal occupation. And you're sitting here, pacifists, not people with guns, not terrorists wearing masks, killing people, throwing gay people off of roofs like these people try and paint it out to be. No. People trying to bring Gazans water in 2010, blown up by the IDF. Why? And you're telling me this is normal? And Hamas is the problem, and the Palestinians are the problem, and the 50,000 Palestinians dead, they're terrorists. These women and these children, they're terrorists. Shame on you, Dr. Phil. You're a sicko. You're a psychiatrist. You're someone who examines people's minds and tries to help them. You help nobody. You're a paid actor.
But these oppressed aren't who I thought they were. I was wrong. I didn't do my homework. I didn't sign up to support mass murder. What would it take if you had to write down 10 reasons that you hated the supposed oppressors, but you couldn't make that list? Would that be enough?
I can give you 100 reasons I hate Israel, their apartheid regime, and their government. I don't hate Jewish people. I hate Israel. And I hate the ideology they stick into their civilians' heads. I sit online and I've talked to hundreds of Israelis through webcam. They are not nice people. Most of the people I come in contact with, all they want you to do is go, I love Israel, I will support you, I will send you money, I will support you. They don't care about who you are. They don't want to support you as an American. They don't want to support you as a Lebanese person. They think they're better than you. They are trained to, I am better than you. You are chosen. You are Jewish. This is your land. The whole world sucks, basically is what they're told. The whole world's brainwashed. They're told that everyone else in the world's brainwashed. It's crazy. And people like you are brainwashed, Dr. Phil, because you're stuck in their ideology. They have brainwashed you to think like them. You are an Israeli. You are not an American citizen. You do nothing to benefit the American people or America. You are doing everything in your power to benefit Israelis. Fight for Israel. Fund Israel. Cause destruction and genocide on women and children. Cause all of the destruction and colonization of the Middle East for the Jewish people. This is what you want. This is what you want. You want to destroy the Arabs. You want to kill the Muslims. You want to kill the Palestinians. You want to eradicate them. You have the exact opposite stance. So yes.
If you had to personally endorse or hit the go button to send the assassins to burn months-old infants in their cribs, would that be enough to come back to seeing right versus wrong? If you learned the so-called oppressed Palestinians had actually started 7 major wars against the so-called oppressive Israelis since their independence and rejected peace a like number of times, would that be enough? If you learned your champions had continued choosing violence, including 1,500 terrorist attacks, killing 4,900 Israelis, and that Hamas had launched over 20,000 rockets against Israel since 2005 and perpetrated over 100 suicide bombings leading up to the full-blown massacre on October 7th, is that enough?
Dr. Phil, imagine making a video with the opposite stats. Like, instead of showing us what Hamas did to Israel over the last 10 years, imagine showing us what Israel did to Palestine and Palestinians and Lebanese people and had proxies inside Jordan and Syria, like ISIS. What did ISIS do that was Israeli funded, that was American funded? America and Israel funded ISIS. Did you forget about that? None of that matters to you. It's okay when ISIS completely chops the heads off of hundreds of thousands of people. It's okay when Al-Qaeda chops the heads off of hundreds of thousands of people, destroys a whole entire economic system, destroys the people in that country. It's okay for Israel and America to fund the destruction of Iraq, leading to 1 million people dead. It's okay for that to happen. It's okay for them to fund the rebels in Afghanistan, the Taliban, and have them completely take over the country. It's okay for all of that to happen. It's okay for them to commit a large genocide and mass murder on the Palestinian people in Gaza. It's okay for them to illegally occupy South Lebanon and push into Lebanon and bomb their major cities and bomb the north of Lebanon, where Christians and Druze and other ethnic people live. It's okay for them to blow up some of the most oldest churches and mosques on this planet. It's okay for them to just blow them up even though they know Hamas is not in there. It's okay for them to eradicate every hospital that exists inside of Gaza so no one can get health care, no one can get help. It's okay for them to do those things. But, God forbid someone does anything back. God forbid there's a resistance group that shoots 1,200 missiles over 20 years. God forbid that Israel's one bomb that hits into the center of Rafah is bigger than every missile combined that was sent to Israel from Hamas, these little pipe bombs. God forbid that one button Israel clicked that killed 20,000 people. Oh, that wasn't a problem. But God forbid anything happens coming from the Palestinians, coming from the Arabs, coming from anyone else on earth. God forbid Russia does anything, or China does anything, or Taiwan, or North Korea does anything. They're the big bad wolves. They're terrible people. Iran, they're terrible people. They're terrorists. But America, the world's leading colonizer, Israel, the apartheid, illegal occupation, genocidal state. No, they're not terrorists. They're fine. They're freedom fighters. They want you to have democracy. They want you to have rights. BS garbage.
What would it take if you learned, in fact, on that day your oppressed victims had attacked and killed more Jews on any single day since the Holocaust, massacring them in their beds?
Did you know that on that day, the Jewish IDF attacked more Jews on that day, on October the 7th? The IDF killed and attacked more Jews on October 7th than any other time since the Holocaust. They also get the same reward as Hamas, just letting you know. They let Arabs on airplanes come in, land, kill 1,200 people before they did anything. It took them hours to respond. But you're sitting here and telling me when they want to respond, Netanyahu's in America giving a speech and he sends a fucking airstrike into the middle of Beirut, Lebanon to kill the leader of Hezbollah. So he literally picks up the phone, makes a call, and an airstrike hits the ground literally 10 minutes later. But it takes them 3 hours when there's people in Israel on the ground spraying down their own people. Amazing.
Would that be enough? If you learned they had kidnapped hundreds of civilians, including your fellow Americans, abusing and torturing them for months before murdering them and taunting their grieving families with false promises and grim and vicious videos.
Dr. Phil, we should take a trip to Israeli jails and we should check out all of the Palestinians who are sitting in Israeli jail being beaten and battered and destroyed. People who are completely innocent, who are sitting there in jail just because they're Palestinian and being beaten and bruised and battered by the Israeli guards. Because why? Because they hate them. They want them dead. They want to eradicate them and take Gaza. It's very simple. They believe it's their land. They don't want to share the land. They believe it's theirs. It's that simple. And when somebody keeps telling you, this is my land, this is my land, this is my land, you need to leave, this is my land, and you've been living there, your family's been living there for generations, you seem to hate that group back. You seem to not like them. You seem to not want them there anymore. So no, we are past the point as Lebanese people or Palestinian people or even American citizens who are paying to fund this genocide, paying to fund this destruction in the Middle East. We're done. We are past the point where we want to keep watching this, where we want to keep allowing this. This is not going to keep happening, and we're not going to allow it to keep happening. So keep playing this victim card. The Jewish people don't have a state. They need a state. I don't care if they don't have a state. I don't care if they have 500 states. When you are illegally occupying a people, oppressing them, and you are committing a genocide, you need to go. You need to go fast. You need to be wiped off of the planet. This is not anti-Semitism. This has nothing to do with Jewish people. This has to do with the Israeli government and the actions that they are committing. This is no different than the Nazi regime. They're trying to colonize the Middle East and completely wipe out a group of people. There is nothing good about this. And this has nothing to do with Jewish or Muslim or Christian. This has to do with this government and it needing to disappear. Eradication of the Israeli government. It needs to go. It's very simple. Not Hamas. The Israeli government needs to go. Hamas can go with it. I can care less. But the Israeli government needs to go. They are the problem. If the Israeli government does not go, people will continue to die at large numbers and it will not stop. They will continue to colonize land and it will not stop. You, as an American taxpayer living with your family, eventually a Russian bomb will drop on your head because they will not stop. If Israel does not get stopped, they will not stop, and it will affect you, your family, your cities, and it will destroy the whole entire world. How many times do we need to go into a world war because of the Jewish people? How many times? World War I, World War II, now World War III. All started because the Jewish people. That's why these wars are starting. Do we really need to go into another war where 30 million Russians need to die? Where over 100 million human beings need to die? For some Jewish people, don't forget, it wasn't just Jewish people who died in World War II. It wasn't just 6 million Jews that Hitler killed. 30 million Russians died. Yeah, big bad Soviet Union, Stalin, one of the worst people on earth, he stopped Hitler. 30 million Russians dead. No one talks about Russians. The worst genocide on Russia. The worst thing that ever happened to Russia. They were fighting to stop what Hitler was doing. They protected and saved the Jews. 30 million Russians dead. 6 million Jews dead. Oh, poor Jews. It's very interesting that when the rest of the world sacrifices their life, when 30 million Russians die, no one cares. It's the Soviet Union. They were leading under Stalin. Stalin's a terrorist. We don't care about those lives. Even though they stopped Hitler, even though they were the ones who saved the Jews, they were the ones that stopped Hitler's spread and completely immobilized him. They're the terrorists. It's crazy to me to see the perception. And we're just supposed to think about the Holocaust and say, poor Jews, poor Jews, poor Jews. Not poor Americans, the tens of millions of Americans who lost their life during World War II. Not poor Japanese who got nuked by the Americas. Not poor anyone, actually. Just poor Jews. It's always poor Jews. They don't have a land. They don't have a country. They don't have support. But they get to just run around and bomb and blow up whatever they want. It's crazy to me.
My name is Hirsch Goldberg Poland.
Would that do it? Would that be enough? If you learned that your heroes were in fact cold-blooded cowards that struck, then ran and hid among children and in hospitals knowing they were sealing the fate of those innocents they hid behind, would that be enough? What would it take? Is there anything they could do to ever get you to move your position? If so, what is it? If you learned these people you...
So it's not Israel's fault for bombing every hospital in Gaza. It's Hamas's fault for hiding under the hospital. So Israel just had to blow up the whole hospital, everyone in it, all the medical supplies, and the 3 Hamas soldiers that are hiding underneath it. Congratulations. This is like Dr. Phil's logic. Like whoever wrote this speech for him, And the fact that he's actually reading it and going through with it makes me think like he got taken to a middle of a forest and they bent him over and there's some blackmail on this guy. Like he's part of like Epstein's Island or something, because there's no way a normal human being, especially someone like Dr. Phil, who literally studies like psychology and tries to help people, can have a mindset thinking like this. There's no way. Seeing the reality of what's happening over the last year, there's no way a grown individual with a functioning brain can have the outlook that Dr. Phil has right now and is giving the speech Dr. Phil. Not even the Israeli officials, not even Netanyahu himself would give a speech this marshmallowy and gross. This is literally the nastiest, most we can see through what you're saying type of speech I've ever seen in my life.
Celebrate and defend, laugh behind your back, call you a useful idiot, seethe with hatred for you, and would torture and kill you in the blink of an eye. Would that be enough? Or are you so rigid, fixed, and brainwashed that no amount of information, no amount of egregious, cold-blooded conduct could ever cause you to move your position? Are they going to have to bring their evil to your...
They think because being gay is like forbidden in Islam, that if you're gay, like if you go to the Middle East, they're just gonna chop your head off. You know, that's what they make it sound like. Like Qatar is probably the most strict country in the whole Middle East. Qatar and Saudi Arabia, when it comes to like Islamic law, they were like serious on Islamic law. Like you steal, they cut your hand off. You do something wrong, they hang you in public. Like women have to wear hijab and cover from head to toe. They cannot drive. Like this is how Saudi Arabia is and Qatar is for a very long time. Qatar had the World Cup a couple years ago. When gay people were there and trying to take gay pride flags in, they just told them you can't take this in. Being gay is illegal, and being publicly gay is illegal. You cannot be publicly gay here. And people were freaking out. Like, dude, it's their law. Like, they're not arresting you. They're not beating you up. They're not killing you. They're not throwing you off the stage. They're just telling you to not wear shirts where two dudes are making out. Like, don't wear a shirt with the gay pride flag on it, please. Like, come here, like, wear your favorite team shirt. You're here to watch a soccer game. You're not here to wear your sexuality on your chest. It's very, very weird. So people need to stop being weird. Like, other countries have different customs. Christianity, it's a sin to be gay. You cannot be gay. You cannot lie with men. In Judaism, you cannot be gay. In Islam, you cannot be gay. It's very simple. So if America is a Christian valued country and Israel is a Jewish valued country, then they should have the same exact morals. Like, you're telling me that this is a Jewish state, but people are allowed to be gay and people are allowed to be atheists? That's not a Jewish state. Dude, if everyone's gay and atheist, how in the world is that a Jewish state? What? And none of you are Jews. Like, maybe by bloodline you might be, even if that. You guys are white as snow. I don't know how the Jewish people who are there now with the long, big noses who look Russian and Polish, I don't know how they got away with saying we're Semitic, we're Jewish people. Because if you look at what Semites look like, the Semitic people of the land look like, they're dark skinned. They look like Arabs. They look like Africans. Were the Jewish people who were slaves of the Pharaoh, did they look like Benjamin Netanyahu? Were they white? Did they look like Putin? I'm confused. Did they look Slavic? I mean, the whole entire population of Israel looks Slavic. They don't even look Semitic. Semitic people should be dark. I'm pretty sure Moses was dark, and Jesus was dark, and King David was dark, and the slaves of the Pharaoh were dark, who were working outside in the desert. I'm pretty sure they didn't look like Dr. Phil, and they didn't look like Benjamin Netanyahu.
Your doorstep? Would they have to start cutting off the heads of your friends and family, raping and beheading your baby sister?
Well, soon it'll happen, Dr. Phil. If you keep supporting a genocidal apartheid regime, then we're going to have Russia and China and North Korea doing that on American soil. Because you, for some reason, want to fund and support them into the death of your own civilization and the destruction of your own civilization. I don't know what America has anything to do with what's happening over there right now, and why you and the government want to support this genocidal apartheid illegal occupation regime so bad, but you do. And I don't know how this helps you or benefits you in whatever way, but I know the guy who's paying you, who pays you and gives you your paychecks and gives you a platform to speak, is a Zionist Jew. It's very simple. They already own the industries. They already own the industry. When I post this to YouTube, it goes through a Zionist Jew check. That's what it goes through before it allows my video to go out into the algorithm. That's what happens. Dr. Phil, same exact thing. Same exact thing. He's taking the side that will get him paid and won't get him canceled. That's it.
If they said, I want you dead just because you're a Christian, would that be enough?
That's what they say. I want you dead just because you're a Palestinian. You're a terrorist. They're all terrorists. Ask Jewish people, bro. Ask the Israelis. Please, please, ladies and gentlemen, if you have never done this, go on one of those apps like, Omegle or whatever, which is taken down. I think it's called Omni TV, right? Click on Israel as a country. Speak to Israelis. Ask them about Palestinians. Say, are all Palestinians terrorists? They're going to tell you yes. 100% of them you talk to are going to say all Palestinians are terrorists. They're all terrorists. And you'll ask them, what is Israel doing? You will say, we're fighting terrorists. We will not stop until we kill all the terrorists. So they believe all Palestinians are terrorists, and they're not going to stop until all the terrorists are dead. They literally want to genocide the Palestinian people. If you don't believe me, go talk to Israelis yourself. OME.TV, click on Israel and chat with them. Ask them, as Americans, as whoever you are around the world, as Europeans, call Israelis and ask them, hey, do you believe that all Palestinians are terrorists and they support Hamas? And they're going to say yes. And then you say, okay, what is Israel's goal? Their goal is to eradicate the terrorists, Hamas, right? And you're going to say yes. And you're going to say, when are they going to stop? And they're going to say, the Israel IDF is not going to stop bombing Palestinians until all the terrorists are gone. And you're going to say, who are the terrorists? Hamas? And they're going to say, yeah. But don't you believe all Palestinians are Hamas? And they're going to say, yeah. It's crazy to think that Dr. Phil is up here standing and giving this BS speech when this is not the reality of what's happening. You guys can go check it out for yourself. That's what I did. I called Israel on the phone. I talked to Israelis. As a Lebanese Muslim American, I called Israel. I talked to Israelis. That's what you're supposed to do. That's how you figure out what they believe on the ground. That's how you figure out what is being fed to them through their media source and how majority of their population thinks. And guess what? 80% of them don't believe in God. They're atheist, just to let you know. They don't believe in God. Ask them, do you believe in God? Do you follow God? Nah, no, I'm atheist. 90% of the people you will talk to on Omni TV who are Israeli, living in Israel, don't even believe in God, but believe God promised them a land. And that's their land. That is, they're the chosen people, chosen for that land, but they don't believe in God. It's crazy.
What would it take? Seriously, ask yourself the question for real and answer it. Is there anything they could do? Anything? Do you hold them to any standard, any at all? If the answer is no, God help you. For the rest of us Americans, we must stand up for what we know is right and stand up against what we know is wrong.
You're 100%, Dr. Phil. I am standing up for what I know is right. I am standing up and I am standing against the Israeli apartheid illegal occupation regime as an American citizen. As someone who pays for their weapons and for their defense, I am standing against everything that they have done over the last 80 years. I, as an American citizen, no longer want my tax dollars to go to genocide and murder of my own ancestors and people. I am sick and tired of watching Lebanese and Palestinian women and children pulled out of fires burning alive. I am sick and tired of watching the footage of Israeli men, soldiers, wearing Palestinian women's underwear. I am sick of seeing the images and the footage, and I am sick of watching the death toll continue to rise by 10,000 members every single week. I am sick and tired of watching this genocide take place with American dollars. So I, as an American citizen, Dr. Phil, am officially standing up and standing against genocide and apartheid. I, Dr. Phil, as a Lebanese American Muslim, am standing up and using my freedom of speech because I am the people. We are the people. We make the decisions. This is our country, not Israel. I want to focus on our country. Stop Stop sending weapons. Stop sending money to an apartheid, evil regime. Thank you guys so much for coming in today. God bless every single one of you. And until next time, free Palestine, free Lebanon, free the Middle East. Bye-bye.